I'm worried. You're worried? We're worried. Let's worry.
Hi, I'm Kevin McDermott.
And I'm Casey Grambo.
We're performers at the CT Comedy Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. And while our physical theater is shut down due to the pandemic, we're excited to bring our show, Little Worry, Big Worry, to you in this digital space. On each episode of Little Worry, Big Worry, we are joined by a very funny guest to talk about what we're worried about, the silly little things, and some of the bigger personal fears that we're facing these days. We talk things over, we break it all down, and hopefully feel a little less worried at the end of each episode. Casey Grambo, how are you?
I'm good. I am feeling cozy, feeling excited to chitter chat and to kind
Are
of
you
get
are you
some of my
deliberately
feelings.
cozy because of the snow that's currently falling where we
I'm
are?
I'm always trying to get that deliberate coziness on whenever it is
You gotta be
insanely cold.
very, very purposeful with your coziness.
Do you feel like coziness happens to you?
I am, no, I don't assume that coziness will happen to me.
Okay.
I pursue coziness with a passion. I
Yes.
mean, with a vigilance, frankly, at times.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's fabulous. I
I
think you
live
have to be vigilant.
I live with a wife who is perpetually cold and, like,
Mm,
striving and searching for coziness. Where do you
mm.
fall on the, like, body temperature continuum?
I'm in the in between.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm always cold, but then I'm like, well, I'm not actually that cold. But I just sounds ridiculous. I feel like there's kind of like a stereotype of like girls being cold,
Oh,
and
yeah.
maybe I'm just like playing into it. Maybe I need to stop playing into it.
It's all in your all in your head. Although I don't think so, because my wife is legitimately cold when it
She's
is,
cold,
like,
and I'm not judging
75
it.
degrees out. Yeah.
Well, speaking of just, like, cold and, like, cloudy, Kevin, you recommended last week for me to watch a video about or last time,
Yep.
to watch a video, from this man, I think it's John Lord.
John Lord.
John
Yeah.
Lord, he is an Irish gardener who has a shady garden, and Kevin, I had some thoughts. I was cracking up because you know, this guy's fabulous. I
Yeah.
thought it was so funny that his garden was like at first I was like, "Is this garden just a series of plants like in a line along a path?" But I realized that they're like just lining up for no sun right here. But the guy was just like really fun and like people in the comments were like, "He's like a bull in a china shop." And I'm like, "It I feel like he was the most like relaxing frenetic person I've ever seen,
Yeah.
which was unusual."
He loves those plants. Like,
Mhm.
his affection for the plants in his shady garden, which, I discovered because I had for like a moment, a delusion that I would plant my own shady garden, which that's a absolutely ridiculous idea. So I
People
researched
do it.
shady gardens. This man's shady garden is world
It's
renowned,
really beautiful.
and he loves those plants. And to hear him talk about them, it puts me in such a good place. I
It's
love
a
it.
definitely a good mood feel,
Yeah.
no matter how frenetic everyone thought he was in the comments, but it was all positive, but they were just like,
Yeah.
"He's wild, he's gonna shake my hair like he's shaking the plants." I'm like,
He has
"Funny."
just such a great demeanor and, yeah, just an energy that, I'm glad you enjoyed it. 2 episodes ago, you recommended that I write a letter, and I have written 4 letters, I will have you know, in the past, like, 5 to 6 days that were
That is
really
awesome.
it was wonderful, therapeutic, and very, I like the thought that it requires to, like, sit down and be deliberate about what you're writing, so thank you for that recommendation.
I love it, and I've continued on, like, the, like, letter/card train, and I, like when I was at the store getting, like, ketchup or whatever, I ended up also buying some, like, cards, so I too will continue on. Uh, alright, I mean, I
Those
think
were
without
great
any further
episodes.
ado.
Yeah, and I know we're gonna have another great one today. We have an
Mhm.
awesome, awesome guest. Joining us today is a Washington, D.C. based improviser and comedian. You can find him on Twitter at GB Simons. We are thrilled to welcome to the show Gary Simons.
Woo!
Applause, applause, applause.
Yay!
Hey,
Gary,
what's up?
Gary.
Hey,
Hello.
What's
Thank you
up?
for being here with us, Gary.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'm super excited. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to get to see Gary because Gary is, I guess, like Connecticut native. Like you're from Connecticut originally, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
all 21 years of my life been in Connecticut.
such a youngin. But Kevin and I have had the distinct pleasure of getting to perform with Gary at CT Improv as part of the touring company on our stage. So it's just really nice to see somebody. It's the only benefit of this online connecting is that no matter how far away people are, you can get to see them. So Gary, yay, you're here.
Yeah, yeah, uh,
I'll add, Gary, when everything got shut down, you and I were lucky to be a part of a video project that was like, I think
yeah,
my first creative opportunity in like lockdown quarantine. And you were, of course, hilarious. And it was super fun to do that video.
yeah.
But
No, it was so cool.
this isn't like the last quarantine video you made though. You were just telling us about a video that I think people would enjoy hearing about.
Oh yeah. So I'm an RA at Georgetown currently, and I live in an apartment. And basically, one issue that we've had is that people are just leaving their trash in the hallway, which is not where you leave trash ever. So
That
like we
that
realized,
checks out. That's right.
yeah. I went through the history books, and no one was leaving trash in the hallways. It's actually there's extensive papers on this stuff. Which before I made this video, I needed to make sure I was checking my bases. So I then made a video educating people on where they can take their trash when they want to get rid of it. And it was pretty successful. It went to people that I didn't even know, like they weren't even my residents. Like apparently it was like a funny video because I was like going around being like, "That's not the trash room. That's also not the trash room. You know where the trash room is? Not here." So
And
it's
and
good.
it got your residents to stop being jerks and throwing their trash in the hallway?
Yeah. I think
Nice.
the embarrassment of knowing that where they were putting it wasn't the trash room got to them. So
I'm proud of you.
And
And
supported by academic papers. It's good to have,
yeah,
humor, instruction, and sound academia support behind you.
I'm feeling
yeah,
proud and inspired.
awesome.
Well, Gary, we're psyched to have you here. Every week we do a couple of little worries and throw some ideas around and then talk about a couple big worries. Leading us off this week with a little worry, Casey Grambo.
Here I am. Yeah, we gotta warm it up. We aren't just gonna throw our guests into the pond. I'm jumping in the pond. Okay.
We have a
So
pond? I didn't know we had a
the
we have a
little, I think ponds are the most worry-based body of water.
well, I think they feel probably pretty inadequate that they're
Are,
a
are
pond.
ponds deep?
They could be. I think it's like being like a stagnant large body of water. It's like, ooh,
Yeah,
Hmm,
you got
I
some
don't know.
issues.
I'm
yeah.
so my little worry um is that I'm worried that I am going to poorly decorate my house.
It's a terrible attitude to start out with. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
And I guess like I'll give a teeny bit of context. Um uh my fiance Nate moved into a house. Um we are able to decorate it and like furnish it and whatever. And I the stress of like the the like choice, like I am having choice paralysis. Like I'm like, what do I do? Where do I start? If I do anything, I might hate it. And it
Do you
becomes
have a
critical.
unifying vision? Is there an overall unifying aesthetic? Because
Yeah.
as you can see from the collage of just insanity of just crap that I throw all around my basement, I know what I'm talking about here.
Well, it's a Victorian house, so it kind of comes with a strong aesthetic, like from the get
Mm,
go.
mhm,
Mm.
mhm.
Um, and it's got a lot of character. Um, so I'm hesitant to like create any sort of unify. I'm an eclectic person.
Yeah,
I'm drawn to your wall of you know kind of a collage of junk.
yeah. Found
Uh,
stickers.
Yeah.
Found stickers.
found sticker, yeah,
Found
found
stickers.
stickers.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm also kind of like and Gary, you might connect with this just for being a college student. I very much connect to the vibe of like, oh, someone's gonna give me this thing, like I'll take it. Like I'm very much like a scavenger of furniture. um,
Yeah.
does
No,
that
I
happen at your school, Gary?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember my freshman year, there was like a senior who was like moving out from like where he was living, and so he was
Oh,
giving away like all the stuff he had. And it was
oh yeah.
yeah, I took this like map of DC that he had like etched into like wood, and it
Ew.
doesn't fit anywhere in where I live. Like it doesn't work, and it's kind of frustrating, but it's like amazing because he gave it to me.
That was a glorious day. Move out day, and you're just like treasures everywhere. I remember I got a stereo. And
Yeah,
you're just like, I
people just
can't.
throw
I'm
electronics in the
yeah.
garbage.
And I was like, you're leaving
Yeah,
a stereo? Sweet, man. Like, all right.
yeah,
It's really
TVs.
wild. TVs, couches, futons, like, and I've always, and I love stuff that's well made and like, but I'm hesitant to well, not even hesitant. I don't really have lots of dough to spend on like, this is a solid wood table. Like I don't have solid wood table funds. So I'm just like I feel like I'm worried about having a unified vision that will um slay my eclectic and more freewheeling decoration vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you how do I want to ask this? Do you like having a lot of stuff around you? Like not in a hoarder sense, but like
Mhm.
do you like cleanliness and minimalism, or do you like kind of packing in and density of like materials and decorations and things?
There's definitely a lot of like implied like appeal to the clean and minimalism in the back. Like, do you like
You think
clean,
Perfect.
like nice, just kind of like spacious, or like really dense, like really tight, like
Just really like gross, like really hard to
like where
clean.
it's like hard to breathe because there's like not a lot of stuff to
And
like.
it's a dank kind of density.
Yeah, do you like stuff to be like have stuff growing on it? Do you
Yeah. Well, do
I
you?
like to
Clean
feel
or
crushed.
yeah, okay, so not a recluse, with boxes about to topple on you and
I
crush
think
you
again, like I
and your
really do feel
pants.
like I'm in the middle because I do think minimalism sometimes lends itself, and now we're getting into it. I think sometimes minimalism lends itself to like pointless decor. Of like,
Mm.
here is my circle vase that's white, and so is everything else, in my house or whatever. Um, I'm not into that. Like I'd rather have something that somebody gave to me and like none of it matches, but it like everything is like I would rather assign I like when things have meaning. I like having I like cozy, like I said, cozy. I
Mm.
cultivate the cozy. Um
Cultivate the cozy.
Yeah.
Did you just solve your worry right there?
I may have like maybe that's my mission statement.
Cultivate the frickin' cozy, Casey. I mean,
Wait,
Casey, she's always cultivating the cozy.
do you guys have like I'm curious, like do you guys have some I know part of me feels like it's not important, but also at the same time, I want to create something that I like. I like enjoying my space. I like looking at. I guess I'm easily swayed by my environment, like a vibrant things or like things that make me feel happy, like or make it easier for me to feel happy. How do you guys deal with that kind of stuff?
For me, I think I still keep a lot of like I get excited by things that like still excited me like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So like my bed is lofted and there's a ladder right there to get up to my
Oh,
bed, which I was so hyped about.
I
But
am too.
yeah,
Oh
but
my god.
most other people would be like, "That's so tough. I'm so sorry for you." And I was hyped. I like was so happy. Like that's the kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's great. Also, I can't bring anything up there with me unless I have pockets. I can't take my phone up there.
Your
Like I
pajama backpack.
yeah, no, I literally packed a backpack. It broke. I had like a bar that stuck to the ceiling, so I could like use a pulley system to get like stuff in a backpack. And like that's not aesthetically pleasing, but to me that was like the Goonies esque like
Yes.
coolness, you know?
I
So
think that, uh, things that are useful are important and I think a Goonies vibe, though storied and a little bit like cluttery is very always useful.
And the lofted the pragmatism of a lofted bed appeals to me so deeply.
Yeah.
It is like recapturing unused space,
Yeah, you are the
aerial
monster
space.
under your own bed.
My son's room is fairly small. It's the smallest of the bedrooms, and so we're like, maybe we could do a loft bed in here. And he is like over the freaking moon. I'm
Yeah.
psyched because I like it would be a fun project. And yes, like so Casey, my aesthetic is like it really has to have purpose. I don't
Mhm.
like, any frivolous decoration, anything that is not like really meaningful. I struggle to like think of what we have that's not really purposeful.
Yeah.
We don't have a loft bed though, which I'm gonna work on.
Yeah.
On that with my wife.
I
Well,
went to I went to a house that had a climbing rope attached to one person's bedroom ceiling and a hammock at the top. And I was like, that's the goal. If I ever get enough money to have a room where I can just have a hammock at the top that I climb a rope to, that's I've done it.
you
Like
know,
I'm so happy. That's how I decorate.
I think it's so funny because like what you're describing, Gary, is like this kind of like it's like a feature, like almost like like there's like water features or like
Yeah,
uh, that kind of like um playful design stuff, but it's also like ridiculous. Like I'm thinking about more ridiculous things. We're
yeah.
like so 90s, and Kevin, I don't know if you remember this. So it's like on the side of your house, like have a slide that goes like out your kid's window, like down into the ground. And it's just like, why is this something people are doing? And it always felt so silly, but I think there's an in between. I think a climbing rope to a hammock is like a nice splitting the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just cool. If you can say you've got that in your house, that's pretty
Yeah.
rad. Casey, I have one more question.
Yeah.
First, before I ask my other question, I have a sub question. Is the Mark Twain house, is that a Victorian house? Like, is that classified? Do you know?
I think it
Like,
would be
yeah.
and they're like here come the letters, but I think so. Our house, this house was built in the 1900s, and I think Twain's was a little before that. So
Sure, sure.
there's his is like a brick. His is like brick, which was like um
I
a little different, a
I
little
can hear
older.
Julia shaking her head right now,
Yeah, our
and
friend
just like
Julia was a
these
Mark
two.
Twain, an employee at the Mark Twain house. She's gonna come after me.
I bring that up because your home is kind of in like roughly that neighborhood of Hartford, like
Mhm.
beautiful Victorian homes. I wonder, and we've performed at the Mark Twain house many times and have a great relationship with the people over there. It's an amazing spot if people haven't been there. But that I wonder how many homes like yours, beautiful Victorian homes in that neighborhood of Hartford, are decorated in a true Victorian fashion, if any at all.
I
You know
think
what I
it
mean? Like,
I think it commands a lot of like you have to go full in because if you really
yeah.
look at like because I've been doing this, guys. Like I've been going on Pinterest, even though I shouldn't, because it's like it
But
just
you're worried. You
it
should.
answers
Yeah.
it only asks more questions. It only raises more questions because when you look at real Victorian stuff, I mean that is cozy, cluttered, you
Yeah.
know, to a T, and
I feel like heavy patterns and heavy fabric and
ghosts everywhere.
draperies.
Yeah,
Yeah. Lots
just
of like textures to wallpapers and ceilings. Is that right? Like, am
it's
I on?
totally right.
Yeah.
It's totally right. And I'm if you guys go on Pinterest and you look up like modern Victorian, like it is
Ooh.
cool. Like there is some cool like renovations, but I'm also just kind of like, I don't know if I can do this.
That seems like a big commitment. And that's way bigger than a pond. That is like,
Yeah.
like
A
Superior.
modern pond is a much more manageable
Yeah.
project for me. Well,
Cultivate the cozy,
I'll
Casey.
cultivate the cozy. I
Cultivate
think
that
we've learned what
fucking
I need to do.
cozy. Mm.
Gary, what are you worried about?
So yeah, my little worry is that my extended family believes I'm boring. That's my little worry that I bring to the table.
What signs have they given you to lead you to believe that they find you boring?
I don't think I just don't feel like you know how when people are interested in like you know how you just asked me that question to learn more about what I was asking? They don't do that. Like it'll be like I'll say something and it'll end there. Like
There's
they'll be
no
like, okay,
follow up
and
at
then
all.
shift over to someone else.
Oh
So
my god, so you have like a one chance. It's like I gotta stun him.
yeah, and it doesn't work. Like when I try, they feel it. Like they're like, so
Wow.
How
Tough
are
crowd.
these cousins, uncles? Who are we talking about with extended?
anyone who doesn't live in
No,
my
I don't
house.
want you to get these people in trouble, like because I'm
It's
sure
No,
that.
no,
anyone
no,
though.
no.
It's anyone who doesn't live in his house, he said.
Yeah, no, no. Anyone who doesn't live in my house.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay,
Which
sorry.
is yeah, it's cool. Um, I think I don't know. Am I supposed to give more context in terms of like why I think this, or is it like
You
okay,
Whatever you
it's
like,
context.
whatever you
I'm
like.
interested. I'm because I don't think you're boring. So why do you think?
Yeah. So basically, I went to a boarding school in high school, so like I lived at home till I was like 13, and then I went to boarding school, and then I'd come home for summers and breaks and stuff. And by that point, and then I'm in college now, and so it's
This is
like
already cool. I just want a quick like sports commentator. This is already cool. You had a secret life as a teen. That a private life. Continue.
yeah, yeah,
I want
yeah.
to ask so many questions already. Like,
Yeah, yeah, right. It's cool. I feel so much better now. This is what I wish would happen in the past. I wasn't around like family that much, like breaks in Thanksgiving and
mm,
like holidays. Like I'd come around, but like other than that, I wasn't around much. So it's like I feel like they also were just like he's off, he's gone. Like he comes around, it's like I don't know really what to talk to him about, and stuff he talks about isn't that interesting. I'll be like, yeah, like boarding school stuff, like hockey, and they'll be like, we don't really care about hockey. It's kind of boring
Oh
to us.
no.
Um, so
Do you think they're boring?
no, I think they're really cool to hang out with. That's why I wish they.
Oh.
I love my family. I feel like I should lean in with that. Like I do love them, so it's a cool vibe. Does no one else think that they're extended family? Like there's like a cousin.
Oh, like should we talk about our boring cousins?
Yeah.
I had a follow up for you
Mhm.
based on like my family divides into two of like people who are into being together and doing activities, and people who are into being together and talking. And like those two groups, sometimes there's like it's hard because there's like and I feel good like being able to kind of navigate both. But there are people in my family who refuse to do small talk, catch up on like what's been happening through the years, but they'll go like, for a hike. Or we do a lot of like canoeing, which isn't not to say just as an activity. They're very nice to be around if they're active, but like sitting around talking to them, it is brutal. So I don't know, like, is that at all like because sitting
Uh,
around just talking can sometimes be hard. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I think it's that like they all kind of like know. I guess there's like a little bit of reminiscing. Like they have experiences that
Yeah.
they've like in that same way of like maybe they've gone a hike or they've gone like to New York or something like there's something
Yeah.
that I didn't get to go to, and
They
then like
have
we'll
that
talk about
common. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like oh now we're talking about this, and I'll be like I I didn't go I wasn't there. That sounds really interesting. That's cool. Or like they were a big like storytelling family, so it's like oh someone has something interesting to say, let's all listen to what they say.
Mm.
And it's like for me, even though I do comedy, like my family doesn't necessarily think that I'm funny. So like it's like me then telling the story of like something that happened that none of them were there for or like a part of. Just is kind of like boring to them. They're like, I can't verify that.
Mm.
Sure,
So yeah, they're a big
sure.
there
You went
was
to
a big
Spain? Sure. All right.
Do you have any proof of that? Because we
Yeah.
can't verify
Was your
that.
cousin Mark with you there? Was is it wait your cousin Mark? You know he farts crazy. Did he fart in Spain? No, Mark wasn't with me. He wasn't with me at
Well,
all.
then it didn't happen. If
Yeah.
Mark,
That's so interesting that your family requires like a witness. Like to like
a notarized affidavit, I think, is actually their preferred verification.
I
And
want I want to share some like commiseration a little bit with Gary because I think you're not alone. I think, I have a little bit of like insecurity sometimes about feeling like I'm like a little bit of like a dork compared to my cousins, or like a little too goody two shoes compared to them, or not as ambitious, or like, there's I think if I looked at any of them, um but I guess I'm speaking about my cousins because I'm just like thinking about it in like relation to them, because we're similar age, but
Mhm.
just being like, oh, yeah, no, those cousins are cool. Like they go to like,
Mhm.
raves in Detroit, and I'm just, you know, a theater kid.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's definitely I feel that kind of vibe. And it's what you're describing is like really tough because like, yeah, everyone feels really connected. And I think, the good news is you're still young, and there's still a lot of family connecting to do, knock on wood, for you and everybody there. And you're just kind of blossoming into the young adult space where you're
Mhm.
going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, and you're going to have like a lot to be connecting with them about. But it is hard because, especially, I don't have that private school experience. Um, and I can imagine if that part of my life was spent a lot of it away.
Mhm.
Um, that kind of a a lot of my stories come from that time. So I hadn't really thought about it that way, but I f- I understand, and I'm excited for you to kind of be like, I'm not boring. Here we go. Let's
Yeah, I'm
do it.
saving up stories in my arsenal. Next cookout, when things are in person again, I'm gonna be the coolest person there. So hype. I'm so hype. Like, you don't even know. Like next time I'll be on the show and be like, when you're too popular with your family? I feel like I'm too popular with my extended family.
Too many people are calling you. Come on
Yeah,
over.
wait, tell that story one more time
Come
about
on.
his fade. Wait, do that. That's so cool.
I have to say, as someone who is well past college age, I am extraordinarily envious of your stage in life right now. There's like, and I don't say this to be like, oh, college is so easy. It's so exciting. It's so
Yeah.
like open and it's like and even like, high school and the opportunity to go to a prep school and to go to college and spend your time in DC. Like there's so much that I'm just like, wow, I am so envious of that. Like all the things that you're doing in that station in life.
Yeah, no, I'm super thankful for like the things that I've been able to do in terms of like sometimes especially over this time I've had to like on sticky notes. I keep a lot of sticky notes, like just like write down the things that I'm like thankful that I've been able to do so far in my life.
Mm,
Because sometimes I forget, sometimes I get stressed out, sometimes I forget, and it's like I have this experience, like I should pause and be like thankful that I get to do that. So
I
it's
like
a
you
great
got to
practice.
research where trash goes. I have so many
exactly.
questions about that.
I
I-
it is fascinating.
Where does
like,
trash go?
like
Wow.
I think there's a conspiracy, but we don't have to get into that this time.
Because I learned it doesn't go in the hallway. I
Yeah,
learned that.
it's not in the hallway, so where does it go? And I'm
You
I'm
have
finding it
the
out.
answers. I
Yeah,
want to know, man.
it's not the hallway.
Um, we're gonna move into the big worries, and this week I'm gonna lead us off with something that's been on my mind a lot because I am on a group text with one of my best friends and one of my best friends from college. And the best
Mm,
friend from I in college fell out of touch for about 12 years, where we did not communicate for a variety of reasons, but we were best friends. He was in my wedding. Um, we were like for 3 out of our 4 years of college, we lived together. This dude was like one of my tightest friends. We fell out of touch. And at my wedding, he met this other friend from another part of my life who has remained one of my best friends. And the two of them have been close friends through the entire intervening period when I fell out of touch with my college best friend. So this group text got put together a few months ago, and I am worried at how like awkward and like self critical and self-judgmental I feel Like, and I guess it's guilt, like about reconnecting with this old college friend who I feel like I've been a really poor friend to, and have been bad at like cultivating our friendship through the years. So I don't know. I have this opportunity, I feel like, where this group text got put together by the other friend,
With
and
just y'all, just the three of you?
just the three of us. Yeah, because we think the same bullshit is funny, and it started around Christmas time, holiday time, with a thread about what are the worst possible holiday cards that you could send. And they were absolutely filthy and horrific and hilarious and really fun. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I described that dynamic well, where yeah, this buddy that I have been friends with forever. I haven't talked to him of whether it's a deliberate attempt on his part to bring the two of us back together, my college friend and I. But um, rekindling old friendships is tricky. Is I guess the crux of the worry.
Yeah, and so just so I'm sure clear, you want to be friends with the person that you were friends with.
I do, and I think the hurdle and impediment to that is, do I need to? It's not necessarily like reconciliation, but like, how much do you address that you were a shitty friend, or that you, not even a shitty, like a almost like an absentee landlord, like that you were just a bad steward of a friendship. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a ton of like different issues and questions, I guess, but the worry, I don't know if I can distill it down in anything succinct, but it's just it feels so fraught with like
Yeah.
stress to reconnect with this dude.
Mm. Something that I'm thinking about, and then I want to give Gary space too, because this is only a short thought, is that I know in other situations, contexts like this, and context and other kind of contexts, is that if you're going to apologize or acknowledge it, just do it one time. I
And
wouldn't.
don't dwell repeatedly on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something I wanted to say.
Yeah. It's a weird like problem to have at my age, because it's like, hey man, do you remember that decade where we didn't talk to each other? Yeah, that decade was really weird. Where like I don't know, just it's kind of a reminder of how old I am, first of all, but also, that more than 10 years passed where I felt like, a really poor friend and compatriot to this person.
Yeah.
Have you ever got into like the shame spiral, Gary or Kevin, of like, I know you're describing this, Kevin, of like not talking to somebody and therefore not talking to them makes you feel ashamed about it, and then you keep not talking to them because you feel ashamed about not talking to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely happens to me all the time, especially with like high school connections and stuff, or like you kind of, and it's always weird how it happens. I think that's the weird thing, is like you try and think back to like how did we stop talking? How did we fall out of touch? And usually it's like time, like you just don't always text someone every single day. But like for me, it's always like I like asked them to do something and then they couldn't. And it's not that I didn't want to talk to them anymore, but it was like, I'm gonna chill. They must be busy. I'm gonna chill, like ask them to do so many things. And then you kind of forget about it, and then you remember, and it's like, oh, it's been a while, like don't do it. And then time just flies. And so like that's it's weird.
Gary, sorry, go ahead.
I thought Casey brought up a good point of like bringing it up only once. I was gonna say that like with one friend who's like still like he's my best friend now from high school, and we fell out of touch like once, and it wasn't really even like an argument. It was just like he came over to visit me one time, and it just ended really weirdly because he had to leave early, and like he had left for an hour to go see some like girl that he knew like at my school, which like was just weird. And then like I think I was like mad about something else, and then we just didn't really get to talk for too long. Like, and then we just didn't talk for like a year, weirdly. And then like, and then it's like, how did a year pass by with this like best friends? And like we talked again, and I was gonna say that like we slowly like bring it up, and like I feel fine with it. Like I understand like where I played a part. I think he does too, and that like we just bring it up occasionally in terms of like, yeah, like there was a period of time where we didn't talk for a year. Like there was a gap. Like there was clearly a gap, and we're aware of it and we're okay with it. But I think it's different. It's also different in time span of time.
Yeah. It's really interesting to hear you describe that because it's like it is odd, but it all seemed kind of benign, but also like still odd. You know, like his behavior in that moment and then the parting, and you can see that there, reasonably would be like some awkwardness after. Um, and I I don't think there was any moment for us where we had that like um kind of split. But Casey and Gary, you mentioned this as well, of like there was like this excuse spiral, not necessarily for me like a shame or embarrassment cycle, but like
Mhm.
it was a time in our lives where our careers were really busy and we were both having kids and both getting married and both buying houses. And you can very easily just like neglect other parts of your life when you're
Yeah.
super busy in one. So it was almost like just not in a triage kind of way, but I don't know. It sort of was of
There's
like,
almost too
well,
much too much right now. I need to,
right.
like,
Yeah.
stop the dam.
This is what
Stop
I'm
the
gonna
dam?
cut
Dam the
off.
river?
Yeah,
Yeah.
stop that dam. Get that dam out of there. And this is a dude who's one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. Two capers that we had in college. One, we had a buddy who was a tour guide, and our freshman dorm had a balcony, and so this friend would guide tours right in front of our dormitory, which we would like first yell really inappropriate things at him while he was leading a tour just to screw with him. And then the admissions office told us to stop doing that. They said that was not appropriate. So we started doing choreographed dance routines to boy band songs on the balcony and would put it on like, here's the tour. It's time for our show. And would like do a full dance routine. Um, and another one we did at the time, Quit Playing Games with My Heart. I think it's
Yeah.
a Backstreet Boys song or an
It is
NSYNC song.
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys. So he and I did a video where he went to a butcher shop and bought a cow's heart, and then we went around campus playing games with it. And it
That's
was like it was the stupidest bit you can, but like we're just like such friends with this giant cow's heart, and like I don't know. So
That's a
I
huge. A house heart is huge. I
it's
just can't
huge.
carry
Gig-
like a huge
gigantic.
heart, like a heavy. It's
Yeah.
heavy.
It was I could be wrong. My recollection of it was like 12 pounds or something. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I just
That's
panic
right.
Googled
You're right.
if that was by the Backstreet Boys, and it is, thank freaking
Okay.
God.
Anyway, it was like such a funny dude, and yeah. So now I'm like, I think it's a great like gift and hopefully an opportunity to reopen a door. Um, and yeah, I think acknowledging it in some way is important, and making sure that it doesn't derail kind of the progress that you make is a challenge.
I
Mm,
al I s I was gonna say, I see the also, like, the weirdness in terms of, like, you're still best friend, like, someone that you've been able to maintain a relationship with is, like, best friends with him in a way that, like, I won't speak for you, but, like, I would be, like, intimidating for me a little bit being, like, we used to be the close ones,
Right.
like, now, like, he's the person you're close with, but, like, you're also, like but he's also still my cool person, so it's like a love triangle and where it's, like,
dude,
we are like, you can't have him be a better friend to you than he is to me, but also, like, how come he's better than me? Like
you hit, dude, 100%. Like, absolutely, you are like on the nose with it. And yeah, it is intimidating. It also just makes me feel like more of a piece of shit. Of like, these two dudes met at my wedding, and then they became really close friends, while my friendship with this other dude fell apart. And you're like,
Mm.
oh god, that just sucks. Like I suck, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That dynamic is very strange. They were both in the Bay Area, and
Mm.
so the buddy that I was continually in touch with would be like, "Oh yeah, man, I saw this dude at a barbecue. Like, he says hi," and I'm like, "Oh, that makes me feel even worse." Like, you guys are hanging out at like Oakland like barbecues and
Yeah, and
doing rad
disgusting
shit
me
together.
a little bit, like, and also
Yeah,
referencing me.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
something that I had to do a lot of, um, kind of like just acknowledging it's okaying about is that not every friendship is going to, continue, and, like, um and I think
Mm.
that there's kind of, like, an interesting moment here where, like, the only thing that I mean, obviously, some things could as Gary was kinda describing, like, the interactions it might be a little bit challenging, and that could be a problem, but, like, it's definitely not gonna be a problem if, like, you do choose for this to, like, move forward, like, there's no
Yeah.
actual consequences of that. Just like there's really no consequences necessarily of you kind of choosing to not kind of deepen this relationship again. I think that knowing it's kind of like, what people say, like, to do the interview like you don't need the job kind of thing, where it's like, not that you don't need this friend, but, like, kind of going into it being like, not every friendship has to continue, and that kind of, like, relieves some of the pressure of being like, "I gotta, like, rekindle this back to what it was because a decade go this is a big decade of both of your lives, and
Yeah.
it might be you might kind of return to each other and be like a different kind of friend to each other in this moment, which
Yeah.
is kind of exciting. But at the same time, like, and then again, uh, eliminates the sort of pressure or expectation that it's gotta be like, and then there's definitely truth to like, and then we picked right back up, like we never stopped talking, but
Yeah.
there's some truth to that, and also that's kind of you know nonsense at the same time.
Yeah, you've hit it again of like there's a superficiality to it that's like really comforting, and like we slip right back into the same humor and the
Mhm.
same like chumminess, but then you're like, wow, the depth of this relationship is really gone. And that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, I don't you can't just snap your fingers and recreate that. But a lot of the like bedrock that was there, you can fall back to, and it's very comforting and super fun. And kind of to harken back to Gary's little worry, it's like we have this accumulation of like 6 years of just like, college and 2 years after college of like insane fun, like, stuff that we
Yeah.
did that's there still. So
And nostalgia is nice, like the
yeah.
loft bed, like,
Oh God, that ladder. Oh
you know, it there is something really nice about having somebody
Don't tease me, Gary. Don't
like
tease me.
having someone to like, we're all aging and forgetting and misremembering and all these things, so, like, having somebody to be, like, corroborate that you existed is cool.
Yeah,
But also
yeah,
it's you created 2 human beings that are your kids, and those are deep relationships. It's like,
yeah.
you can't have that many deep relationships. Sorry, everyone. Sorry, Casey. Sorry, Facebook. Sorry, everything. You can't have that many relationships.
I'm relieved, Gary, that you reconnected with your buddy. That was you would not patched or mended, but you were just like, yeah, we're good. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot what even happened. I feel like I don't even know what happened. I think he sent me, like, something on Instagram, like, some meme or something on Instagram, and then I was like I think I sent something back, and then I was like, I think I needed to do something, and I called him, and then I was like, "Hey, like, do you wanna, like, do X thing?" And it all came back. It took a minute, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it was like, there were things that we were like, "Oh, you didn't know that?" Like, that superficial question, like, "Oh, I didn't tell you about that?" And it's like, definitely didn't. There was, like, a year that went by, like, let's be
Right.
real.
You didn't tell
You
me
definitely
anything for a year.
don't pretend like you told me about this. Why would I know?
can
But
I can I ask Gary? In my head, I'm like, because I haven't had this experience of reconnecting with a really sincere, dear old friend. I have almost like a cinematic image of like what should happen, of like a reconciliation moment and some cathartic kind of reconnective moment. Did you guys have that, or was it more just like, I mean, not even like a cinematic swooping music soundtrack coming in, but even just like a real moment of like laying it out, like what you both were
yeah,
feeling.
it happened, like, like, I don't know if we ever talked about how we were feeling, but I think we realized, like, how much, like, our friendship mattered to each other in a way.
Yeah.
Like, one time we did when I had called him, I think he had, like, made some joke. He was like, "Bro, you were mad at me." And I was like, "I don't remember being mad." But then it was like him saying that then made it was like, "Yeah, I was a little bit upset." And then it's like, "Oh, it explains because he thought he was mad at me." I thought he was kind of mad at me or annoyed about something, and then it kind of just was like, oh, and we laughed about it like in a way where it was like, no, like I wasn't mad, and like yeah, it was a year, but like that's unfortunate that that happened. And then I visited him like during a spring break, and I came to his campus, and like we just like the night that we were there, we stayed up till like 4 a.m. just like talking about stuff like our lot, like basically trying to catch up, not a year, but like
Yeah.
kind of. And it was reminiscent of high school, but also like it showed like how much it was just like a bunch of stuff that we used to do together, but it showed how much like we cared about this friendship that we like didn't stop really talking now. Like, so now we don't see each
Right.
other, but we still text. I'll call him randomly. He calls me randomly.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
Nice. Gives me hope, man. Thank you.
yeah, no, I totally think there's hope for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Right.
That's really
Well, thank
cool.
you guys. I do appreciate the kind counsel and you guys sharing your own experiences with that. Let's get on to our final segment of the show.
Here we
Gary,
are.
Yeah.
your big worry.
This one's it's a little bit general in terms of like I think it's relatable. But for me, I mean, coming to graduation, it's a typical like existential crisis, you know, like this quite well for me right now, what I've been asking myself is like there's things that I say I want to do. Like
Mhm.
I'll be like, I want to be a comedian, I want to be some type of performer, I want to write, do comedy, right? Like there's some point I want that in my life and I want to be doing that. And there's a question of like what does success in that look like, which I'm not really clear on. But where my worry is that like if I get the success that's like prototypical of like someone who says they want to be a comedian, which is like let's say let's like television or something like that, that I won't really be happy. Like that like it seems like a lot of the people who do the thing are really upset by like the environment they're in. And I feel like I see that a lot. Like even like my sister who wanted to be a lawyer her whole life, the job frustrates her a lot. And it doesn't seem very like glamorous in terms of when you're actually doing it in ways that like it feels good. But I guess that's the worry is like I'm gonna work so hard to get something and then not be pleased with what the thing is. Like realize it's not it.
Mm.
Welcome to middle of your life.
Whoa.
How'd you get there so fast?
I mean, I think it's amazing, and thank you for sharing that. We, I think finding satisfaction. I mean, I don't know. It's such an elusive thing. But I feel like as I get older, I still find satisfaction in the things that made me satisfied when I was younger, if that makes any sense. Of like, um, you know, harken back to my worry, like friendships and connections with people are really that's what satisfies me. So I have a job that it's like all about connecting with people, which is a less like objectively definable goal. It's not monetary, it's not power, it's not prestige or title, but it like connects to what for me is like a really elemental part of like satisfaction in life, which is like this of like seeing
Mm-hmm.
people and talking to them and hearing them and trying to connect. So I don't know, like, I don't know if you can find that in a profession or
Yeah.
identify like what is the elemental soul based like satisfaction that you can feel good about.
This is like so important. I think I have two thoughts. The first one is that um I studied theater in school, and when I was graduating I was like I want to be a director. And like from the jump, like that path does not like is not a straight line. So I think that like that is one thing to know, is that and anything that you wanna do, you're not gonna do it first to get there, which, like, like, because 'cause you're smart
Yeah.
and you know that, but I
Thank
think
you.
just always just constantly reminding yourself that, like, this is a windy road, and, to try to not ever, even if you are getting paid to do something, be strictly motivated or worried about the success of something only based on the amount of money that it's making you. If that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
you should definitely if you're making money to do something, that's still fine, but I think if like the amount of it or the quality of the thing you're doing is like reliant on it like being successful financially, it's like that's I think creatively that can be really tricky.
Yeah.
Even in CT Torco gigs, like, sometimes I'd be out on stage performing. I'll just speak about the specific example I'm actually talking about, and I'd be worried that if, like, I didn't perform well, that, like, it would be reflective on, like, the company financially, and I was like, "Oh my god, I cannot be thinking about this way." I just wanted to give, like, an explicit like, a clear, explicit
Mhm.
answer of something that happened to me. Um, the other thing is that I've met a lot of people, full disclosure, I work in theater, but I work in administration now. I work at a university as opposed to at a, like, the specific theater. And I still have I still have like little gigs on like my after school activities, as I call them.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and part of doing those things is because you have to do what you have to do to, you know, to live, and you got to take advantage of the opportunities that come your way in that moment. So like sometimes success isn't uh it's like you're still there. It's kind of like the success is just kind of like still being in
Yeah.
the game as opposed to like all always like driving directly up a mountain to like your goal. Um and people who some people aren't able to feel satisfaction even if they are successful. So I think that's important too. Like you care about your family, like
Yeah.
having it all relates. And your
Yeah.
gratitude post-it note thing, I'm so sorry, is such a good thing, and that's always gonna make you, um, probably feel more successful and satisfied because you're introspective. You were gonna say something, Gary, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, no, I think that, like, both those thoughts are, like, really great. I think that there's definitely, like it's, like, multifaceted and, like, and similar to, like, kind of like the question of, like, friendship, that it's, like, there's so many elements to it, um, that,
Yes.
like, thinking about it from one side where it's about like what like how do you stay happy without necessarily getting what you like thought would be success when like at my age right now, and then also the other question of like whatever you're doing, like how do you like stay happy, like if you did find a success, like what's your satisfaction. And I think that like finding satisfaction in friends is definitely true for me. Like I find that like the moments where I'm happiest are like not from like stories of me doing like some set that I did for like stand-up scene, but like from some craziness that happened like from boarding school or college, like where like I remember on April Fool's Day we like put couches in front of someone's door so they couldn't get out because they baby powered our room. And it's like remembering that experience is like that, like having time to spend, like quality time to spend with people, like having fun feels like also great. And like that you're doing, like you're connecting with people, that you're doing these things that like you can do independent of whatever your job is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like a career in Hollywood, like a career in movies and TV. I feel like pursuing that is it's no different than pursuing a career in venture capital or in like real estate investment. It's really hard. It takes talent, it takes drive, it takes like tons of commitment. But like for you or for anybody to go pursue that, it's like it takes the same skill set as being a doctor, not the
Yeah.
same skill set, the same process, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and that within Hollywood, people that I went to college with are very famous and are working every day and making a good living. And being comfortable, I think, along that continuum is, I don't know, that's an individual question.
Yeah.
Because within being a physician or being a banker or, whatever it is, it's like there are people who make a ton of money and have like these traditional metrics of success at a high level, and others who are content and happy and survive and live good lives by their standards. And I don't know, that's a tough thing to reconcile. So I don't know if that like kind of bridges the two questions of like a career in the arts. I think as Casey and I both have like experienced, it's hard, but no harder than any other field. I don't know
Yeah,
if
it's
that's
very
Yeah.
naive to say or not, but
the one thing I'm curious, Gary, like something that I like doing is like both like consuming certain um like when I start finding people that I'm like, I really like their stuff, like I'll start trying to find their like, podcasts or conversations with them to kind of like hear about their process. And so like I'm sure that's something you do, but if like you haven't, like I think that talking about other people's journeys of like the work that they like, if you like their work, like looking at their journeys, I think is also good because it
Yeah.
shows the windy path. It shows the windy path.
Yeah, no, that's definitely like one of the like the nicest things about like especially now with things being so digital, like the point where you don't need to like ask for a DVD, like you can just find it online, go on YouTube. It will be put on Netflix, on Hulu type of thing. You can watch documentaries, you can see YouTube videos, find the podcast. Is getting to like listen to all that because it is like I was talking to my friend who like wants to do music, and we were talking about how like when you're in a family that doesn't necessarily either understand that goal or have any like connections in that space where you can talk to someone about it,
Right.
that like podcasts, documentaries, like those things are the next best thing because even though you can't speak with them, they're speaking in a language that you understand and are passionate about. Like they're saying a thing that you feel like you're
Mm-hmm.
they're like I think there's on Netflix. I watched this. I'm not Jerry Seinfeld isn't my favorite comedian. Hopefully, this doesn't get back on
The
the show.
letters are coming in.
Shots fired.
Yeah,
Watch out, Jerry.
I think he's definitely good. And I watched a documentary. He's definitely good.
He's good.
I watched a documentary
He'll
called
do
like
all
Jerry
right.
Seinfeld Comedian, where he like he has to come up with new material post like doing a show where he did all of his stuff, like everything he had before, and it showed like him struggling, like he's got to think of new things. Like he wrote them down, and some of the jokes don't work. Like he's struggling. Like people are like, "Are you supposed to be funny?" Like people heckling him in the crowd. Like he's scared if he can come up with material, and he's saying things that it's like, yeah, no, like even on like the small scale that I'm on, like I can understand that language. Or like hearing someone on a podcast be like, "This is the thing about the Joker. Here's a premise. Like here's the thing." Like you feel like people out there have had a similar experience to you, and so you're not alone in the same way that like you might have felt like years prior. So like it like would have been if you didn't have access to like hearing these people talk. So thank you for also the suggestion.
Well, and I mean, in every field, again, this is not intended as advice, just as an observation of like, pardon me. No matter what the field, like the people who are willing to work the hardest are the ones who succeed. And I think acting, writing, the arts, it attracts a lot of people who have talent, but also tend towards like some level of delusion where they think things will happen without the effort.
Or they don't have
But
access to the tools that they need to know, like, how to do the work, right?
certainly,
Like,
yes.
I think
Yeah.
the point you make, Gary, about people like, no one speaks my language. I don't. No one's speaking to my feelings. Sorry to interrupt, Kevin, but I do
No,
think that's also
no,
true.
you're right, and I didn't mean to kind of diminish or
No, I
devalue
don't think you did.
that
I just think
element
it's
of it,
important to say.
but it's like work ethic, you know, you
Mm.
see it in every single field, and I think part of the thing of like the access to, like for me, it was like when I first found WTF with Mark Maron, and you're like, wow, this is like such candid conversations behind the curtain of like what this is all about, like all of those, the common theme is work ethic. Of like every single person just puts in the work, and that doesn't guarantee success, but I think for most people, it guarantees some level of quality of life that I don't know, probably is pretty manageable.
And there's something like satisfying about getting better too. Like I feel like
Yeah,
with
for sure.
getting better, it feels good to know you like I was bad at this thing and now I'm better. Like improv, like I remember the first time I ever did improv was in high school, and this person would eventually become my advisor, like in high school, and like a close mentor to me that I still talk to now. But like it was like the theater week of like their arts program that like my freshman year. And he was like, all right, do some improv. And in my mind, I was like, I'm a funny dude. I could do this. Like, I also like tried. I was not, I was like the no but person. Like, I was like, I don't like that initiation. I'm going to change it type of thing. And like, I remember I did that like in the very first time I was on stage, and he like stopped the whole thing. And he was like, Gary, that was literally the worst thing you could have done. Like, the textbook wrong thing. I said, yes, and you said no but. Like, you did. That was a huge no but. And it's like, now it's like, to say that like I'm a senior, like doing improv, getting to do it like at CT Comedy Theater, and like loving it in a way that's like I'm better than I was there because like I worked on it and I kept doing it, feels good. Like,
And
I
you're
love that you made
so good, Gary,
yeah.
like, you're so good, like, and I don't know, like, there's so many different spokes and paths, like, you can continue on now, so just, like, do the thing you wanna do, like, and, take care of yourself, like, take care of yourself, but, like, also just, like, do it, because like, I think that your work ethic, your smarts, and your talent will lead you to a place of satisfaction, but also take care of yourself.
We had a interesting conversation, kind of in the same realm with Laura. She's an, we were just talking about like one of the themes was talent aligning with ambition, and that hopefully you find whoever you are, whatever you're pursuing, like something that whatever you aspire to and whatever your ambition is, like hopefully your talent kind of aligns with that. And yeah, dude, you're everything I've seen you do ever was like blew the hair that I don't have, blew it back.
oh, I
Um,
appreciate that. Thank you.
and also I
Just
love that you made a video for like like a humorous video for addressing the trash problem.
it's
And
clearly your language,
yeah,
and it makes me laugh so hard that, like, your family is just like the and I
Gary
it's
doesn't have it.
honestly, the
Nope.
whole situation is funny. Like, writing like like, it's hilarious that you are so funny and your family does not find it interesting at all.
Don't get
So
it.
I think
And so that, I guess that is funny to some. Some people find that funny. That's funny.
you're like, "It's really heartbreaking and hurts my feelings."
Yeah, no, it's a real thing.
I think
But
Jerry Seinfeld would find it funny. He would
yeah,
he would be able to cultivate that
No
for
one thinks I'm funny anymore.
what happens when your family thinks you're not very funny?
heck,
They look at me with blank stares. I don't know. I mean, I'll go back to something I said earlier. Like, I am so envious of your position, like where you are, just like in not you, Gary, but like in the possibilities for what is next.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
freaking hard. And it's like stressful, and I know it's not. I don't mean to imply that it's
Yeah, I
easy,
wanna
but
validate this worry.
yeah.
yeah, of
I
course. But like, you also have like the world at your, I don't know,
But as we
potentially your
know,
doorstep.
Gary, when the world is at your fingertips and you can decorate your house however you want, it's
There
hard
will
to
be a climbing rope.
Climb,
Going up,
climb that rope.
going
There
up.
Climb that rope.
will-
Y'all, this has been so fun. Gary, we gotta do this again sometime.
yeah, yeah. Bring me back.
We're gonna check in with you, yeah, next year and see where you are.
What's
See what
going
you're doing.
on? Oh my
Um,
gosh.
well, Gary, thank you so much. We're gonna do some recommendations right now. At the top of the show, we recapped and talked about some things we had recommended over the last couple of episodes. Casey, do you have a recommendation for this week?
I do, Kevin, and it doesn't mean that you have to, like, buy
Well,
anything or do any
oh, I thought you were gonna give me something else I have to buy.
No,
No,
or do
no more.
anything. No, no, no. So,
Okay.
you may have seen this. This is a show on HBO Max called The Great Pottery Throwdown. It's basically the pottery version of Great British Bake Off.
Wow.
And the reason why I want you to watch it, Kevin and Gary, if you have the time to spare, I know school is busy, but the uh, the reason why I love it is there's a host on the show who is so emotional and so passionate about pottery that he
Mm.
chokes up and cries when like basically like anything happens. He picked up a pot and it was like a good weight for the pot and he cried. He saw a contestant
Because
having a
the
hard
weight
he was like
was
it's he
correct?
was like "It- it's just it's the proper weight." Like he's just like so
Wow.
and and I'm watching it with Nate and he's like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "If you don't understand what this feeling is, then I'm learning more about myself through Nate not understanding this man's reaction because I have
Mm.
had moments of tearing up because like you're so proud of something that's like kind of not your place to be like proud of or like it's like, oh, a moment of beauty so fleeting that it like kicks you in the back of the throat and is like, "Cry!" Um, So that's why I like it because it really is the first time I've ever seen this experience depicted in a person, and he's just delightfully, emotional.
That's awesome. I will check it out.
Yes.
Um, my daughter is obsessed with the Great British Baking Show, so we will see if it's the baking or I mean, because it's like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So, or if it's the competition style show that she's really enamored with.
that sounds good.
I have a show recommendation for you as well. On Amazon Prime Upload. It's Greg Daniels' new show. Greg Daniels of King of the Hill and The Office and Parks and Rec, amongst many others. But it is my wife and I thought it was awesome. We just tore through it. It was like great, great show.
Very
Smart,
cool.
good commentary, good humor, good acting. Greg Daniels, like one of the best there is. And yeah, I'm curious to see if you like it as well. We loved it. A couple that we typically respect and like align with their humor, they thought it was okay, but we thought it was fantastic.
So
So
you're
anyway,
cutting them out.
they're done. They're dead to me. I erased that text chain. It's gone. Yeah, gone.
Gary, before we go, do you have I know we wanna check you out on Twitter. Is there anything else do you have a recommendation to share with us? Do you have anything you wanna plug? Do you just wanna, like, give a shout out to the world before we go?
Well, obviously, I want to shout out the world, shout out world. I also, yeah, still like follow me on Instagram and Twitter at gbsimons15. And no, I'm just really grateful to be on the show. And yeah, no, this has been a fun time. It's cool to talk about worries.
Thank you so much for carving out the time. I hope everyone feels a little less worried, and,
Yeah,
we'll see you guys next time, and Gary, we'll see you soon,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Hopefully we see you soon.
yeah.
Everybody, don't forget to cultivate the cozy.
Cultivate that cozy. Bye.